Chapter 84. Served on a plate.
Please stand back from the platform edge. Central Line, platform 1, train approaching Station platform. Please stand back from the platform edge. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform. Change here for National Rail Services.
Greenford Underground Station, West London, 1987. That's when I saw a curvy, mixed-race, biracial, and very attractive woman. At the time, me and my dear friend Mark was working at the same place and we was on our way home. I gave Mark a little nudge on his elbow and I said, Mark, look at her. Wow, she's nice, man. Now, I was filled with that I have to talk to her feeling. And I was trying to figure out when to make my move because it was kind of tricky because I didn't know which train she was going to catch. Because basically it was one platform, but if the train came to the left, it was going in one direction. If the train came to the right, it was going in the opposite direction. Of course, I was hoping that she'll be jumping on the same train as me and Mark because this will give me a longer time to think of what to say and my opportunity would be greater. And as bad luck would have it, the other train came first and she jumped on that one, which was going in the opposite direction to where we were going. I looked at Mark, I said, let's jump on the train so I could talk to her. And Mark said with his very well-spoken English accent, you are joking. I said, no, come on, we got to do it now because the doors were closed and I'll lose the opportunity. And he gave a very reluctant, okay, then we jumped on her train. Now, the fact that she didn't sit down told me she was going to get off the next stop. So I thought, right, I'm not going to approach her now because she'll be getting off in a minute. So I better wait till she gets off so I can catch her at the next stop. And just as I predicted, she jumped off the next stop. We jumped off with her, but she went up the stairs fairly quickly, which mucked up my plans because it meant I had to step on it to catch her up. But things got even worse. Because by the time I was near to catching her up, she was already out of the station, which meant I had to leave Mark behind because it will cost him more money to come out of the station to enter back in it to continue our journey. So I said, well, Mark, wait here. I'll be back soon. And it got even worse still because by the time I negotiated with Mark, she was already across the road. She was just about to jump on a bus. I had to sprint. And I got onto the bus, and that's when I broke the ice and started talking to her. She found it quite hysterical and unbelievable that I made such effort to talk to her. However, it turned out she was working in the same location as me and Mark, and she roughly finished at the same time, so the chance of seeing her again at the station was quite high. However, that was little consolation for Mark because when I got back, he had been waiting there for ages and said, where the hell have you been? And I told him that I jumped on a bus because you are joking. And he wasn't in a good mood with me making him wait all that time. Anyway, we fast forward a few days and we saw her as predicted. Now, me thinking this was going to gain me some brownie points, I made a point of pointing out that Mark was the one that was waiting at the train station while I was pursuing her. She approached Mark to confirm whether this was true, and Mark made a meal of it, confirming that it was true, by complaining how long he had to wait. Then either a few days later or possibly the following week, we saw her again, but this time she was with her sister. But on this occasion, she was travelling in our direction, or shall I say, they were travelling in our direction. Well, of course, I made a point of sitting next to her. Now, this is quite relevant. The seating arrangements back in 1987 on the London Underground was different back then. Whereas today, all of the seats, your back is facing the window. Whereas back in those days, they had those seats as well, but some of the other seats were what I call the 4x4 seats, ideal for groups. So if there was a group of 4 of you, you could all sit together facing each other. Now, we was in the 4x4 seats, and Mark was opposite Angela, the lady in question, and Angela's sister was sitting next to Mark. In conversation, I made mention that Mark was part of a band, and she said, really? And she looked at Mark and she asked him, well, how long was he in a band? What sort of music does he play? And what part of the band is he? And he told her that he was a singer, and she was even more impressed with that. And she asked more questions about the gigs that they played at, etc. Now, I can't remember if Mark said he had some demos, but music was mentioned, and she made a suggestion that she would like to come round to his place to listen to them. Of course, Mark agreed to her invitation. At the same time, he glimpsed over at me to see what my expression was. And I had my eyes squinted in a sort of dirty look, but it was in banter because we're dear friends. I gave him a look as I say, you bugger. Okay, so let's cut a very long story short. That visit Angela made to Mark's place evolved in a short-term relationship that they had together. So in other words, all the sexual pleasures that he had from that woman was on the back of my efforts. If I didn't suggest to jump on a train going the opposite way, if I didn't make him wait in a train station, he wouldn't have got what he got. In other words, you could say that I was his bitch because I went out there and got him some pussy and served it to him on a plate. So in closing, here is Mark's summary and testimony of that situation.
Jolly decent of you to give up the lady to me. All I can say is the best man won. Obviously she knew quality when she saw it.